Look at me. What about me would make you think that I care about your opinion of me? Your opinion of me is not the opinion that I have of myself. You ain't make me, so you can't break me. You didn't build me, so you can't kill me. You know what? God established me, so you ain't nothing you could do to me. I've been him. I've been a difference maker, a game changer. I've been that guy. So what will change? Not a darn thing. I'm not even playing the game, and you got an opinion of me. I'm not even on the field.
Yo, what's up and welcome. You are now in the cut with your main man, Caleb Carter. Definitely want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. Thank you all for listening. Hey, man, it's been a long time coming. But before we get into anything else, I want you to do me a favor, if you can. Go to Instagram and follow this podcast at _in_the_cut_show. One more time, _in_the_cut_show on Instagram. Go to Twitter right after that, or X, whatever it's called, and follow the In the Cut Show on Twitter. At the In the Cut Show on Twitter. Man, it has been a long time coming. I've been putting this off for years. Shout out to my brother Trey, host of the Break Room podcast. He's been trying to have me get a podcast going with him, I want to say when I was around 16 years old. But I just didn't know what to do. I didn't even know if I wanted to do it. But here we are today, and man, I'm so grateful to be here. So grateful to you all for listening. And before we get into any of the topics, I do want you to know who you are listening to. Once again, my name is Caleb Carter, student here at Prairie View A&M University, the Prairie View A&M University, the HBCU of Texas. Don't get it twisted with TSU, Texas Southern. We don't claim them here in Texas. But hey, man, I'm about to graduate come December, so we got some big decisions ahead. But, you know, that's a part of this communications journey. Definitely can't wait to see what the future holds. And let me tell you what you're going to get when you're listening to In the Cut with Caleb Carter. It's going to be a lot of sports, I got to admit. You know, I love my sports. But it also is going to be whatever else I feel like talking about. You know, maybe one day I feel like talking about, pop culture. Maybe one day I feel like talking about, probably won't get into politics. We'll talk about the Beyonce concert. I mean, the Beyonce concert has taken over Houston, hasn't it? I mean, you can't even get through traffic because of the Beyonce concert now. But hey, man, it's gonna be 60% sports, 40% whatever I want to talk about. So make sure you send in those podcast topics, something that you want to hear on Instagram and Twitter. Now that we got all of that out the way, time to get into the man that you heard at the beginning of this podcast. PrimeTime, Deion Sanders. Let me tell you, me going to Prairie View A&M University, we have to know one thing. Jackson State was a competitor with Prairie View in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So I've been privy and a follower somewhat of the Deion Sanders story or saga in college football. So as he's made his transition to Colorado, it's been amped up to 1,000,000. I think we all can agree on that. I mean, during the summer, I was watching the promo videos where, you know, you're getting to know the players, getting to know the coaches. You felt like you was a part of the football team. And let me tell you, it worked. It worked for me. It worked for most of the country because there aren't too many times where I've found myself captivated by a sports story like I am with Colorado. I mean, when I think about it, I think about my hometown sports teams, the Houston Rockets, Astros, Texans. Those are the teams that are always going to bring me to a TV screen. I'm a LeBron James fan. I'll admit it. He's my GOAT. Jordan fans, I don't want to hear you right now. So LeBron James will always get me in front of a TV screen. And so far this football season, Colorado football has always gotten me in front of the TV screen when they're playing. They played their first game against TCU. And I mean, that was the litmus test. That was the game where we were like, okay, does the expectations match reality? That was the game. You're going against the team that played in the national championship against Georgia last year in TCU. And what do? They go to Fort Worth and beat TCU 45-42. Next game, they go to Nebraska. Big rival in the Big Ten. They beat them 36-14. Then you got this hard-fought game against Colorado State, 43-35. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where I think the tsunami of controversy really began to kick off. Because we saw Jay Norvell, head coach of Colorado State, make things personal. He said, hey, when I talk to adults, my mom taught me to take my hat off, take my glasses off when I talk to adults. So we saw things get kind of personal with Jay Norvell and Colorado State. Then we moved to this next game against Oregon. And let me tell you, Colorado stood no chance. Colorado got railroaded versus Oregon 42-6. And by the time you're hearing this, Colorado may or may not have faced off against USC. But there were some things during that Oregon game that surrounded the Oregon game that I found pretty interesting. The head coach of Oregon, Dan Lanning, he had a pregame speech. I'm pretty sure we all saw it by now. And he had some interesting words to say about Colorado football.
Rooted in substance, not flash. Rooted in substance. Today, we talk with our pads. You talk with your helmet, right? Every moment. The Cinderella story is over, man. Right? They're fighting for clicks. We're fighting for wins. There's a difference, right? There's a difference, right? This game ain't going to be played in Hollywood. It's going to be played on the grass, right? It's going to be played on the grass.
Now, that was the head coach of Oregon University, Coach Dan Lanning. And you heard what he said. He said, hey, they're fighting for clicks. We're fighting for wins. This game is not going to be played in Hollywood where PrimeTime, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, and the Colorado Buffaloes want to play. This one is going to be played on the grass where they can't shine the shoes of the Oregon Ducks. And a lot of people took offense to what Coach Dan Lanning had to say. And I'll be honest, I did not. I took zero offense to what Coach Dan Lanning said because that is what is going to come when you're trying to motivate your team. Right? I mean, after the game, they caught Coach Dan Lanning for a post game, and he said, hey, all those people who were watching those past few weeks that Colorado was playing, because Colorado, they've been setting records TV ratings wise for ESPN, Fox, all those type of things. They've been setting records. Coach Dan Lanning said, hey, all those people who've been watching in the past weeks, I hope you were watching this week to see the beatdown that we just put on Colorado. I'm not mad at that. I'm really not. And, there were some people on the internet who tried to make it a racial thing. I don't think it was a racial thing. And this is coming from someone who thinks most things are racial things, let's be honest. But I didn't think there was any racial undertones in what Coach Dan Lanning said. But it does bring up something because, and I'm not going to say that there isn't a segment of the population that are rooting against Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes for racial reasons. But I think that population is rather small compared to the majority of the population who are rooting against Coach Prime for different reasons. And I think those reasons are rather justified. Here's why. When you have someone who is so confident, insecurities will always be offended. I think that was a quote from Coach Prime himself, actually. He says, "Don't let my confidence offend your insecurity," right? It isn't too many times where we see a man, just parade around, right, saying that this team who was 1-11 last year is going to go out and dominate other teams in a conference that he was unfamiliar with, excuse me. That isn't common in college football. Usually what we see from college football coaches is, hey, we're going to take this one step at a time. The Nick Saban, Kirby Smart approach, But that isn't what we got from Deion Sanders. And I'm not going to say that people are right for disliking that. But if we're being honest with ourselves, we see why people take issue with Coach Prime and what he has to say. But hey, that is going to do it for the first part of this show. We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned, stick around, because we've still got a lot more to say about Coach Prime. And we'll get into another segment of the population who take issue with Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes.
Every day I'm hustling. 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 Who you suckers think you're tripping with? Yes, I'm the boss.
All right. Thank you for staying with us. We just got done talking about Coach Prime and the Colorado State Buffaloes, the story that has captured the hearts and minds of the nation, myself included. I tune in every single game and will continue to do so. But I touched on earlier, before the break, that there was another segment of the population who disliked Coach Prime for different reasons. Different from the respectability politics that we've seen from people like Coach Dan Lanning, Coach Jay Norvell in the college football world. And I'm not going to say that it's all black people. I'm not going to say that it's all people who are affiliated with HBCUs. But there is a segment of that populace who has taken issue with Coach Prime. And I believe I have a good idea as to why. Because like I said, I attend Prairie View A&M University, so I've been around some of these conversations. I've got an earful on people's opinion of Coach Prime. But here's something that I found pretty interesting. Ricky Smiley, popular radio host. I'm pretty sure we all know who Ricky Smiley is. I'm pretty sure he was doing his radio show before I was born. Kind of dating myself right there. But Ricky Smiley got on his radio show and said Deion Sanders has turned Colorado into a HBCU. I'm going to repeat that. Deion Sanders has turned Colorado into a HBCU, according to Ricky Smiley. Now, there's a reason why many people, especially those affiliated with HBCUs, will take issue with what Ricky Smiley had to say. Because Ricky Smiley is saying that Colorado is not an HBCU because Lil Wayne opened up for Colorado. He's saying that Colorado is an HBCU because The Rock came to college game day that was held in Boulder, Colorado. Colorado is now an HBCU because you got influencers like Desi Banks, Lou Young, former NFL pros like Warren Sapp, Terrell Owens, Michael Irvin, Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, the face of ESPN. All of these high-profile black people coming out to show their support for Coach Prime at Colorado, that's what makes Colorado an HBCU, according to Ricky Smiley. And what bothers me and many of the people who are affiliated with HBCUs is because, see, a lot of the discourse around HBCUs that I see, especially like on social media, because, and let's take social media with a grain of salt, because, of course, social media does not represent the entire population. But they think that the H in HBCU is silent. They think it's just black colleges and universities. Forget the fact that Colorado has an 8% black population. Boulder, Colorado, that is, the city where the University of Colorado resides, has an 8% black population. But many people think that the H in HBCU is silent. But you have schools like Prairie View A&M University, Texas Southern University, Alabama State University, Florida A&M University, Jackson State University, where Coach Prime left from. These are the schools that are historically black. These are the schools where those people who couldn't get into a PWI, like a University of Texas, University of Alabama, things of that nature, these are the schools where black people had to go. And I think that is what many of the people take issue with when it comes to what Ricky Smiley had to say. But there was also something that I saw that was pretty troubling as well. CNN, they came out with an article, and the headline reads as this: Deion Sanders' audacious blackness makes him the hero African Americans want right now. I'm going to let us just kind of digest that for a moment. Deion Sanders' audacious blackness. Y'all don't laugh at me for saying Deion Sanders is like that. But Deion Sanders' audacious blackness makes him the hero African Americans want right now. I don't take issue with the first half of that statement, because his audacious blackness is inspiring. Don't get me wrong. Seeing a man be authentically himself is inspiring. Seeing a man be unapologetically black, being unapologetically a man of faith, that's inspiring. And I think it is something to be, it's something worthy of praise. But the second half of that statement is where I take issue, because it says makes him the hero African Americans want right now. And again, for some people, he just may be that hero. And as a disclaimer, I don't blame Deion Sanders for what other people have said about him. This isn't Deion Sanders, in fairness, talking about himself. This is someone who wrote an article about Deion Sanders. Ricky Smiley is someone who is talking about what he saw at Colorado and in Deion Sanders. So let me preface my comments by saying that. But when it comes to the word hero, there was an interesting clip that came out because Deion Sanders, he did a 60 Minutes interview, and he talked about his time at Jackson State and how he has transitioned now to Boulder, Colorado. And I want to take a listen to that very quickly.
What did you tell those
I
kids?
didn't leave
What did you tell
quick.
those kids?
I didn't leave quick. Let's slow down. I didn't leave quick. I left when I was supposed to leave. We finished. Most coaches get a new job and they leave expeditiously. I finished the task.
You say finish the task. Was there more work you could have done in Jackson, or?
I think we did a tremendous job in Jackson. I think we laid down a tremendous blueprint.
We tried to press Sanders on the circumstances surrounding his abandoning the mission at Jackson State. He's hinted the school's lack of forward thinking may have factored in his decision. But on this topic, he was about as elusive as he was returning punts for touchdowns in the NFL.
I'm going to play that again because I didn't like how that played. So let's play that again.
You left Jackson State and you left quick. What did you tell those
I
kids?
didn't leave
What did you
quick.
tell those kids?
I didn't leave quick. Let's slow down. I didn't leave quick. I left when I was supposed to leave. We finished. Most coaches get a new job and they leave expeditiously. I finished the task.
You say finish the task. Was there more work you could have done in Jackson, or?
I think we did a tremendous job in Jackson. I think we laid down a tremendous blueprint.
We tried to press Sanders on the circumstances surrounding his abandoning the mission at Jackson State. He's hinted the school's lack of forward thinking may have factored in his decision. But on this topic, he was about as elusive as he was returning punts for touchdowns in the NFL.
That was Deion Sanders during his 60 Minutes interview. And let me again say this, because I am a fan of what Deion Sanders has been doing in Boulder, Colorado. The reporter said that he abandoned his mission. I don't view it that way. The reason why is I don't blame Deion Sanders for taking that opportunity to go to Colorado versus staying as head coach in Jackson State. I really don't. You know, I mean, not only was the money better for himself, but he took many of the same staff with him from Jackson State, trainers and other staff, to Colorado to get them better pay as well. So I commend that. But there was a question that the reporter asked, and it was there more that you could have done? Was there more that Deion Sanders could have done at Jackson State? And that's why it brings me back to this CNN article where it says he is the hero African Americans want right now. Do I think that Deion Sanders should be the hero of African American society? No. I want to make that clear because I don't think we can just put all of that on one man. I think that's unfair to him. But what I do think is that Deion Sanders could have been the catalyst for change. And I made sure to define catalyst because, you know, I'm still in college, so I felt like this was necessary. It says catalyst is a person or thing that precipitates or causes an event. And I think that Deion Sanders could have been the catalyst for change in the HBCU landscape. Something that Deion Sanders also said in that interview was that we laid down the blueprint. I think that also is true. Something that the reporter remarked about Deion Sanders was that he insinuated that the administration at Jackson State could have possibly lacked the forward thinking to accompany what Deion Sanders had in mind. I do also think that that could have been true. But had Deion Sanders stayed at Jackson State, the impact would have been a much grander scale even than what we see at Colorado. Would the media coverage have been the same? Absolutely not. I don't even debate that. The media coverage of what we see of Coach Prime at Colorado versus what it has been of Coach Prime at Jackson State is night and day. Don't get me wrong, Jackson State has made their appearances on ESPN. He had a 60 Minutes interview while he was at Jackson State as well. But the tidal wave of coverage does not compare. But the reason why I say the impact of what he could have done at Jackson State would have been more so than that of what is being done at Colorado is because of the fact that Jackson State is an HBCU, right? I mean, we see Travis Hunter, the number one recruit in the nation 2 years ago. He flips his commitment from Florida State to go to Jackson State to play for Deion Sanders. And I'm not saying that would have continually happened had Deion Sanders stayed at Jackson State, but I do not doubt that more top 10, top 15, top 20 players would have done the same thing and tried to flip their commitment and go play for Coach Prime at Jackson State. I mean, because they're going to do it when it comes to Colorado, but here's the difference. HBCUs back in the day were known as hubs for black college football players. Ed Too Tall Jones, Walter Payton, Jerry Rice, Shannon Sharp, all of these people are products of HBCUs. What we're going to see at Colorado is talented people, talented young black men go to another Power 5 school in Colorado and then go to the NFL. I mean, that happens every year. They go to Alabama, they go to Ole Miss, they go to Texas A&M, they go to LSU, they go to Clemson, they go to Ohio State, and then they go to the NFL. That changes nothing. Colorado, him going to Colorado changes nothing for the community. But had he stayed at Jackson State, the landscape of college football would have changed. I firmly believe that. Because once the balance of power, of recruiting power that is, begins to go to an HBCU, you think that people were mad now about what Coach Prime is doing at Colorado. It would have been increasingly so if he had done it at Jackson State. I mean, we saw Coach Nick Saban, supposedly a good friend of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, when Travis Hunter got his NIL deal, I believe for $1 million at Jackson State. Coach Nick Saban, he said, hey, are we sure that, that they're doing this the legit way? That showed you the fear that was in some of these coaches' minds of what could have taken place at HBCUs. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I believe so many people who are affiliated with HBCUs have a problem or had a problem with Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State and going to Colorado. But I once again would like to reiterate, hey, I'm going to watch Colorado regardless. I'm a fan of what I've been seeing, and I will continue to sit in front of my TV every time a Colorado game is available to me. But hey, that's all I got for you today. I mean, I know I went on a kind of a long rant there, but hey, remember to do this one thing for me. Go follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter. On Instagram, _InTheCut_show. On Twitter, it is _InTheCut_show. Hey, I appreciate you for sticking with me for so long. Once again, I'm your main man, Caleb Carter. Hey, it's a Sunday, so you know I got to take it out with some gospel. Till next time, be safe, be blessed. We out.
All of my life, I've never known you to fail. You remain the same, and wonderful is your name.